So here we are finally for the first video of 2022 and also the first unboxing. And what a way to kick off this year. I have the Team Magic E5HX Plus, which is a 4S monster truck. So Team Magic have gone to town on this thing with upgrades and beefing it up and making it 4S. This is traditionally a 3S platform, but they've done a number of changes to make this thing handle 4S, and I can't wait to show you what they've actually done. So once you get everything out of the box, this is what you're going to be greeted with. You got the truck fully assembled and ready to go. However, you will need to put the wheels and tires on. It's just a single little screw in the middle, and they give you the tool for that in this bag. You get the manual, you get a little sticker sheet for your rear spoiler, and of course you get the radio itself. So starting off with the boring stuff first, let's have a look at what you actually get in this bag. So there is a little tool to help you put the tires on, and you got another little thing in here. Now this is just a little mesh that you can put on the ESC to prevent kind of dust and debris getting into the ESC fan. You can choose to have that on, put that on, or just leave it off, entirely up to you. The little tool to put the wheels on, that's this little guy here. And then of course you get the manual as well as a couple of little advert sheets for some option parts and things like that. So there's this one here, which I think is talking about covering the holes for the tires if you're going to drive through water and stuff. It's written in Chinese, but I'm pretty sure you can use Google Translate to work out what that says. And then you've got a hop-up sheet. So there's some option parts that you can get for this car, some of which are already fitted on the car itself. But there's also a few more that you can get if you want to. And then this little leaflet is just for the brand Hard, which kind of focuses mainly on bags, carry cases and things like that. So you can always grab some of those online if you wish. The manual itself, one of the nicest manuals that I've seen on an RTR for a very long time. It's not super thick, so it's not really very boring. It's got a lot of useful information, and it's all in color and brilliantly illustrated. So it kind of gives you some of the tools that you're going to need and things like that. Talking about the water warning, which I think is what that other sheet was about. How you need to cover up the holes if you're going to drive through water. And then as we flip over, you can see on this page there's some ESC information, the tuning options, how to calibrate it and all that sort of thing. And then you've got some information regarding the new radio as well, which is really handy, and of course all really nicely illustrated. Exploded view of the diff there, some more information regarding the ESC on that side, and then we have some more exploded views of the car here with part numbers labeled everywhere. So if you need part numbers, it's all in the manual. And then there's some more at the back with the whole parts list as well on the back there. So an absolutely beautiful manual, one of the nicest ones I've seen on any RTR. Big thumbs up from me for this user manual. Straight to the point, and definitely gets the message across there. So pretty impressed with the way they've done that. These little stickers are for your rear spoiler. You can choose to put them on or leave them off, entirely up to you. And then of course the radio itself. Now this radio is an updated radio from the previous one. You can go back and watch my other E5 unboxings, Team Magic unboxings, and you'll see some of the radios that they provided in the past. But this is actually a new one. It's not really new on the market. We've seen this radio before. I think it's just a rebranded Fly Sky radio. And these have actually been very, very good. So it's a GT2E, which I think, it's a Fly Sky GT2E. That's what this guy would be, I think, under the original name. These are actually a pretty good feeling radio. They run on 4AA's, nice weight to trigger. The wheel is rubber, which some people might like, some people might not. I don't mind the rubber wheels, but they can sometimes slip if they get a little sweaty, so keep that in mind. Behind this little semi-transparent lid here, there's your usual trimming. So you've got an on and off switch just here. We have steering trim, throttle trim, steering dual rates, a couple of LED lights in the middle there to kind of indicate battery usage and so forth. Steering reverse switch and throttle reverse switch, and the bind button in the middle. Pretty straightforward, nothing too complex, but it has all the usual trimmings that you'd require from a ready to run radio, and it feels pretty good in the hand. So hopefully this one will hold up well. So here we are for the main event, the E5HX Plus. And this is running pretty much the same body that you'll find on the 3S cars, except this has, you know, a different graphics, different livery on here. And there are still 4 body colors available as well. So there's the yellow one here. I also got a blue one as a spare body. You can get a green, which actually looks really good. It really pops against the black. And I think there's like an orangey black one, or sorry, orangey red maybe colored one, which looks really good as well. Yeah, they're your 4 body colors, so you can choose one that kind of speaks to you a little bit more. I'll take the body pins off here real quick so we can get a look underneath the body, because that's what we're really here for, is to have a look at what upgrades Team Magic have actually done to these cars. The body itself is a little bit flimsy. Like I said, it's pretty much the same as what you'll find on the 3S cars, but we'll talk about this guy a little bit later on in more detail. And here we are with the truck itself. So if you've seen the 3S trucks, you know the layout of this is pretty straightforward. There's no real big changes here in the layout. What you're going to find, they're exactly the same tires as the 3S. And these tires have actually been really good. I've actually enjoyed them. In fact, I'm running them on my converted 4S truck, which I did a video on last year, which was the E5HX. I converted that to 4S, and coincidentally this one has now magically been released by Team Magic. So I don't know if I was the influence behind that, or if they had always, you know, they always had plans to do that. Yeah, it's just a bit of a coincidence that I had the 4S truck that I was playing around with last year, and then this thing turns up. But the tires have actually been really good. They've held up well. Suspension wise actually feels really good as well. Probably got a little bit more rebound than the other cars, but all things considered, when you take into account that you're going to be running a bigger battery in here, you got slightly bigger ESC, you got aluminium shocks, you know, all these things, they may add a little bit more weight, so the extra rebound probably makes sense. But I've never really had to tune Team Magic shocks in the past. They've always got the suspension pretty right, so I trust that this is actually going to work quite well, and the suspension feels really good. They are running aluminium threaded body shocks, which I really like. I love these shocks. In fact, I've got a set on my E5HX as well. I think I've got the upgraded shock towers on my E5, I can't remember, but these are CNC machined. And they've got plenty of adjustments on there as well. And of course, you've got the aluminium body posts on here, front and rear, of course. So you also have the CNC machine shock tower in the rear. 120 amp ESC, I believe this is a Max 10 ESC, paired up to a 3500 kV brushless motor. This guy should scream on 4S, and no doubt. And of course, we are running AMAS XT90 connectors in here as well. Savox 15 kilogram waterproof steering servo. I think I'm still running the stock steering servo on my MT. The E5HX I have upgraded. These servos have actually been pretty good. They haven't been too bad. My only complaint with them is probably they're a little bit slow, but aside from that, they're actually pretty good. I don't mind the Savox servos that are included. And of course, you've got the push button switch for the ESC, which I love. Definitely prefer that over the slider switch. You are running LED lights on the front bumper. We've got 5 in the front, so 3 up here and 1 on each end just there. And we've also got some LEDs in the back as per the 3S cars. So the 3S cars also come with this adjustable wheelie bar back here. The wheel actually runs on a ball bearing, which works really well. And you do have a couple adjustments on the spoiler as well, in case you want to sort of play around with aerodynamics a little bit there. Battery compartment is a little bit tight. Even with the 3S cars, you couldn't really lay the battery down flat. It had to be on its end. Both the 2S and the 3S kind of had to be on their ends. And the 4S will be exactly the same. Now, you can't run 4S hard case. You have to use 4S soft case. I can fit a 5000 milliamp soft case in here quite easily. You just have to make sure you get the right batteries to go with these cars. As I said, these cars are some of the smaller 10 scale MTs on the market. They're not the biggest, so they your battery compartment's a little bit tight. You do need just to be mindful of battery size before you start buying a whole bunch of hard case 4S, or go out and get huge capacity batteries, even if they're soft case, and they're never going to fit in here. So just be mindful of that. It is a standard length, so standard 2S and standard 3S batteries will fit. So as long as you work to those dimensions, you should be okay as far as the length goes anyway. Height is not so much an issue. You do have a little bit of restriction in the width, but aside from that, you should be able to find batteries. I mean, like I said, I can put a 5000 in here, so there shouldn't be an issue getting batteries. Underneath, we are also going to be greeted with some stainless steel skids. These skids are worth their weight in gold, to be honest. This is a must-have for any E5 owner. If you have one of these trucks, definitely get these skids. I would 100% recommend the front. You can probably get away with not having the rear, but if you get one, may as well get the other and just have it matching. The reason why I definitely recommend the front is because of the bumper design. The bumper kind of wraps around underneath the body, and if you take some nose end landings, the bumper survives, but what it tends to do, it tends to fold on itself, and it kind of collapses here, and we only have some countersunk screws kind of holding that plastic piece inside in position, and it eventually pulls through. I say this because I experienced this when I was running my E5s. When I first got them, I had a couple of bad landings, and I noticed the bumper was slowly pulling through the screws. So once I got the skids, that problem went away, and yeah, 100% recommend the front one. Rear one, you'd sort of want it as well, but you can probably do without if you're on a bit of a budget. Aside from that, yeah, that's pretty much covers everything that we can see. Now, what we can't see is that it has a center differential, because traditionally these trucks do not come with the center differential, and you can't really see it. It's kind of buried under plastic in here. You can't really see the center diff, but it does come with a center differential, which is a definite improvement for these particular vehicles. The standard ones do not. They just have a basic spur gear. And then of course you got spiral gears all the way through on all three diffs, so that you have constant contact with the teeth, and hopefully they don't break or fail during your run. So yeah, I'm really liking the upgrades that Team Magic have done with this particular vehicle. So now we'll come to the fun part of this unboxing, and that is of course my wish list. Now, after looking at this truck a little bit closely and looking at some of the updates and upgrades that Team Magic have done on it, there's a couple of things that I think they can still improve upon, purely based on first impressions and my experience with the previous E5 cars. This is the sort of things that I wish that they would probably address in the future. So first and foremost is the body. The body is just a little bit too flimsy for these particular trucks, for any truck, to be honest. I mean, it's probably okay for an on-road car, but these bodies are just a bit too thin and a bit too flimsy. Of course, you can reinforce them with shoe goo. I know a lot of people are going to say that in the comments, and you know, a lot of people do that to their bodies regardless. But I don't think that's something that we really should be doing as standard, especially when we're upping the game here by going on a 4S, you know, taking a 3S platform and putting a 4S power system in it. You know, obviously this is going to be a lot more expensive than the standard 3S cars, albeit I still think it's an excellent deal being able to run 4S on these vehicles. But I think the body could definitely be stronger. So whether they thicken up the Lexan and kind of redo the mold a little bit, or they give us, you know, some kind of semi-integrated roll cage and some skids just to make the body a little bit stronger, I think I'd really like to see that in the future. Body pin retainers or tethers or holders. So a lot of companies nowadays, you know, Losi, Armour, Timco Rally, and there's probably a couple of others out there that do it as well. They have tethers for their body pins. I think Team Magic need to catch up a little bit and do that as well. You know, they can probably come up with their own design, or they can just put simple tethers like the other companies have been doing. I think I'd really like to see that in their vehicles as well. One of the things that they talk about in the manual, and they give you, you know, the little leaflet and everything, talking about blocking the holes in the tire, in the wheels, so that, you know, when you run on water, you don't wreck your wheels. Well, why not vent the tires instead? Like, don't give us wheels with holes in them, just vent the tires. A lot of companies are doing this. Armour started doing it a little while ago. I think Proline have got some vented tires as well. I can't remember, but I think Timco Rally do them in some of their cars. So there's a few companies starting to vent their tires on some of their high-end, higher-powered vehicles. So why not do it on these ones? You know, rather than giving us all this literature to block the holes of the wheels, just vent the tires and problem solved. Sway bars. You'll notice that there were no sway bars installed in this vehicle. I think it should probably come with some. Given the extra weight that you're going to be pushing through it with the bigger battery and everything else, I think sway bars would come in handy. I'd like to see that in the future. Now this one, I kind of have a bit of a question mark. This is my last item of the wish list, and there's a little bit of a question mark here, but I'll put it to you in the comments. How would you feel about getting a roller of one of these, like a BS 4S vehicle E5? So with all of these upgrades that you see, with a clear body and just supplied as a roller, I think that would be really cool to see that in the future. No doubt a lot of people will put, you know, their own very similar electrics to what you see in here, but there are crazy people out there that would probably modify this and try to put some crazy motor in here, and of course you'd put your own steering servos and get your own radios and all that sort of gear and paint up the body however you like. So I think a roller could definitely be something that we could look at in the future. I think they have done a roller in the E5 range for the 3S versions in the past. I think they've done that from memory. But I would definitely like to see a roller, set up for 4S. I think that would be kind of cool to see what people do with these cars going forward. So that pretty much sums up my unboxing of the E5HX Plus. This is an absolutely gorgeous machine. I love what Team Magic have done with this particular vehicle. I like the new radio. I like the upgrades that they've done on this. I think there's a couple of things they can definitely tweak. As I said in the wish list, I think they could do a couple of things a little bit better in the future. But this is definitely a big step, in fact, leaps and bounds in the right direction for Team Magic. I really like what they've done. I've always enjoyed these E5 cars, and of course I do like their E6 range as well. So no doubt I'm going to have a blast driving this thing around. So big shout out to them for sending it out for review, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this unboxing. If you did, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.